guys.
This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and is brought to you by the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, Penn Community Bank, Fogo de Show, and Hand and Stone Spa. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome everybody to the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff right here on 1490 WBCB 107.3 FM. We thank Chuck and Jerry and Guy for letting us be here every Monday night. We got a great show tonight after the Eagles' 28-3 win over the Giants yesterday. My co-host, Mr. Paul Domowitch. How are you, buddy?
Doing well, Jolly. How about you?
Very well, thank you. And our guest tonight is a great guest. He was the tight end in Super Bowl 15 with the Eagles. He is not a financial genius about town. He knows football. We're going to talk about it tonight. Mr. John Spagnola. How are you, buddy?
Jolly, I'm good. Dom, good to be with you again.
Good to have you.
Hi, everybody.
Guys, Eagles won 28-3 yesterday. I can't remember. Chris Hermer was talking about this before the show, and there's just no wow factor. Does there have to be a wow factor? The first blowout in a long time. Saquon, the sacks. There's a million angles we can take. Damo, didn't force any turnovers, of course, didn't commit any either. Were you wowed in any way, or was just like the most efficient game you've ever seen?
Well, the beauty of the NFL is that redemption is only a week away. And, we've gone from criticizing them for what happened against Cleveland, even though they won, to an efficient win. They still haven't scored a point in the first quarter, which is a mystifying to me. But they rushed for 269 yards, which they haven't done. They've done once in 10 years. Jalen Hurts did not have a turnover for the second time in a row.
Only attempted 14 passes.
Yeah, defense had 8 sacks and has not given up a touchdown in 9 quarters. So, there's a lot to like about the win. But then you go back and say, well, that was the Giants. So you're expected to do that.
Spags, when you used to play, you won a lot of ball games. There's obviously style points, and I don't know how many style points there were. I thought the Eagles needed to put a couple on yesterday, but the defense was very good. How do you think the offense played?
I thought it was an efficient offense. Listen, they won yesterday, as Damo said. The no turnovers are key. 2 games in a row for Hurts. That's huge. I thought his first quarter play was tentative, honestly. But you know what? He took some sacks. Maybe they didn't have to. But he didn't force the ball. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't give momentum to the home crowd. And he played a patient, long game. Mm-hmm. And so you look at their stats yesterday. You said they ran for 269. They threw for what, $140 or something like that?
Yeah, 114. Yep.
It's the inverse of what modern-day football is today, right? It's exactly. Everybody runs for 114 and throws for 270 or 370. Yeah. So that's their formula. That's a ball control. Take the people, the opponent's crowd out of the game, win an efficient game, really tidy defensive effort. I think they're finding an identity. I didn't know what the identity of this team was. Maybe they're getting there. It helps when you have 2 poor teams that you can beat along the way.
And Saquon is the main course. Said it on WIP the other night. It's got to be your main course. You got to feed him. Never mind the return to the Meadowlands. 176 yards was terrific. I want to know, guys, we'll talk about everything in this game. Certainly Nick Sirianni redemption this week. Look forward to Sunday. It's been flexed back to 1 o'clock. Dom, I'll ask you first. What are you more impressed with? The fact that Jalen didn't turn the ball, or are you more impressed with the fact that Jalen didn't turn the ball over and hasn't for a couple of games now, or depressed that the Eagles are last in the NFL, having only 2 takeaways this year, which may work against the Giants, ain't going to work against teams later on?
Well, I think the turnovers on defense will come. It's having 2 in 6 games is kind of embarrassing, but it's the worst in the league right now. But the fact that Jalen's showing respect for the ball and not turning it over either as a runner or the interceptions, he hasn't thrown one in 3 games.
Nope.
So that's good, and I think that's a more of a positive than the takeaway thing is a negative.
Spags, your point of view on that?
Yeah, I think the quality of his play so far has been good. I'm not real keen on sort of his pocket awareness.
Yeah.
Look, if they run the ball now I don't want to become sort of like the Titans and Henry, where they either won a game with Henry pounding the ball for 200 or not. But if you establish that run, now you've got a wonderful, RPO and play action opportunity for a quarterback. That's the kind of offense I think they have to run. 5-step drops, get it out quickly off of play action. When the linebackers and safeties, have to force the run, they have to now, force that one of the guys up in the box, and now you have opportunities deep. They've done that well with A.J. Brown. So I see this, I kind of see the offense coming together. I see the defense coming together now. And you've got some, Cincinnati is kind of a bigger test, if you will, of the third of the three teams they've played.
It's
and then
interesting.
they get into the real, meat of the schedule.
Cincinnati's also played the Browns and the Giants the last 2 weeks, obviously in reverse order. They didn't allow a touchdown to either one either. So you have two teams whose defense has woken up against the dregs of the NFL, both with good offenses. Going to be fun to watch this week. Got another question for you guys I was thinking about yesterday, and I really think this. Some people ask questions to, and they give answers that they're not telling the truth on to try to do the hot take thing. But I really think this. Who's the best player right now in the Eagles defense?
Boy.
I like
Quinyon
Dean's play.
Mitchell.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
Yeah.
Kid's a rookie.
Yeah.
I dropped an interception yesterday, whatever, but you never hear his name. When you never hear a quarterback's name, cornerback, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Carter, he disappears too much yet. But, boy, I mean, then he has a game like yesterday where, he just dominated the right guard. I mean, for his 2 sacks. He's the key to this defense going forward. He's got to keep playing like that. He's playing a large percentage of snaps. If he can hold up, I think he's going to be a dominant player that can kind of ignite this whole defense.
I think he's stepped up. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I do think it's for some switch has gone on. It's great to see. I thought Nakobe Dean played really outstanding.
Very well.
I really liked the scheme yesterday.
Yep.
That blitzing sack. They took the tackle, put him wide. So the guard tackle kind of covered him. They dropped the outside defensive end.
They did
and
not.
And they put the center. I mean, he was one-on-one. Center can't make that block.
Yeah,
I can't make that block.
They did not send an extra rusher a single time yesterday. What they did like a half dozen times was those zone blitzes.
Right.
Both of Nakobe Dean's sacks were, I think most of the time it seemed like it was Nolan Smith that was dropping back. I think Brandon Graham once dropped out.
Right.
It was very effective, and I think you're right. I think Vic's going to do more of that because it's working. And Dean is a good blitzer. I mean, he showed that at Georgia.
It's pick your poison, and the line slides. I mean, it has to. You always see him point to the center of the defense, and then we're going to slide one way or the other depending on what our calls are, and you see that. But now you're playing like, okay, we have sort of 4 people, 6 people, 7 people. Who's coming?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's coming?
I like the way Fangio is doing it also. It's an interesting way of running the defense. I mean, you got to play well and you got to play consistently, and they're doing that right now. And in so many ways, it's interesting. But a lot of it's attributed to Nick Sirianni, whether it's the coordinators, the head coach. Had a rough week last week. Didn't bring kids to the post-game press conference. Didn't scream at anybody yesterday. Seemed to get back to basics, coaching football. What do you think about the week's bags for Nick Sirianni with everything, the mental side, the team side, the respect of the players, getting this big win? Is he redeemed, quote unquote, for now?
For this week, yeah. I think he's a hyperactive guy. He's got a lot of enthusiasm. You certainly don't want to curtail that. He seems to connect with the players, or at least that's what I'm hearing. But I think there's a way to comport yourself as a head coach, and he hasn't been able to do that either on the sidelines or in the post game. And I think step up and be professional and act accordingly, and you'll be fine. But if you're going to engage hometown fans, and then you're going to do that on the road as well. Yeah. I mean, you're just asking for trouble, and also leave the kids out of the locker room, or not the locker room, but the press room. There's going to be a bad question asked at one point, somewhere along the way, even after a win, and that's going to create a real uncomfortable atmosphere for everybody. It's unnecessary.
100% agree.
Yeah, I said this last week. I think he's having trouble finding things to do since he's not doing most of the play calling. And unfortunately, the things he's finding to do are the same thing like a 8-year-old finds to do when you don't give him.
Can't he do in-game betting with DraftKings or something like that? I mean,
Good. I think the NFL tends to frown on that a little bit, but, if you're not at the site, if maybe you can duck through the tunnel and get in the parking lot, maybe you can.
There you go.
I don't know.
Guys, 1 for 13 on third downs. Now, that's a big stat. Normally, it doesn't matter when you win 28-3, when the other team's clearly overmatched. I think a lot of things yesterday get overdone because of the sheer talent difference between the two teams. But 1 for 13, Damo, when you have a third down, it's not like it used to be. Third downs lead to punts. Now third downs lead to fourth downs, which lead to going for it. Does the third down thing worry you less because it's more of a 2-down thing, or is 1 for 13 simply 1 for 13?
Well, yesterday, what concerned me about the 1 for 13 on third down, a lot of those third downs were third and long, and they got to stop. They got to do better on first and second down. But you're right. The fact that they were 3 for 3 on fourth down led to 3 of their touchdowns.
Yeah.
In fact, one was a touchdown on 4th and 1. So those tush pushes practically unstoppable.
Is Juergens becoming Jason Jr.?
He's playing. It's funny because occasionally he struggled with Dexter Lawrence, like everybody struggles with Dexter. But Jason Kelsey's going to go to the Hall of Fame, and even Jason, 295 pounds, when he played a big, huge nose tackle, he would struggle occasionally.
Yep.
And the same thing's going to happen with Juergens, but he played a solid game. A couple of those long runs, he got out or downfield to the second level and made big blocks.
Yeah,
he's coming along.
All right, Spags,
Just
Go
let me
ahead.
comment on that, too.
Yep.
This team should never have more than 3rd and 6. Honestly, with
Yeah.
the running game
With
that they
Saquon,
have,
yep.
they should never be
Yeah.
more than a third. 4 to 6 should be the most. If they get into 3rd and 12s and 15s, I don't think he reads the blitz that well. I don't think he reads coverage
Yeah.
that well, and I don't think he's that tall. I think it's hard to look over the defenders and everything else.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to put him or that offense. He has gifted receivers. Get Goddard back. And I don't think he needs to be in those kinds of situations. So they need to limit that through play calling. They really do.
Here's their third downs yesterday. 3rd and 14, 3rd and 10, which was a sack, 3rd and 10, which was another sack, 3rd and 3, which was an incompletion, 3rd and 11, which was a sack, 3rd and 6, incompletion, 3rd and 2nd, incompletion, 3rd and 1, he runs the tush push and doesn't get anything, 3rd and 7, he had a 16-yard run, and then a bunch of 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 7s.
Yeah.
That's
That would suggest
can't do that.
people would think you and I are collaborating before we chat. We don't.
Well, I got a collaborative
We just are
question.
very knowledgeable people.
exactly.
All right, John, you seem to watch a game through a player's eye, through a film eye, which I really like. I'm going to ask you a question about a country and a city,
Uh-oh.
even though neither one has anything to do with a country or a city.
My God.
If you watched the game yesterday, somebody watched the game just who had no idea about anything, just watched the Eagles and Giants, and after the game he said, Eagles have a borderline all-pro left tackle who's hurt and didn't play. Did it make any kind of a difference? What would you have said about Jordan Mailata's absence?
I would have said early on it was a big concern, when his replacement gave up a sack. But then what'd they do? They ran left, right? I mean, so if you have
lot.
pass protection problems, how do you eradicate that? You run, and so it was Fred Johnston, right? I mean, he stepped up, did a hell of a job. Once he got going, comfortable in the game, playing away, it's noisy. You have to look in at the center. His hand, you can't really, listen to the snap count because you can't hear it a lot of times. And so he got comfortable in the game. He got into the game. He got a sweat going, and he got after some people in the running game. That's the formula.
And Damo, another offensive line problem with Mekhi Becton going out with a concussion. Who knows about this week? Tyler Steen coming in.
Yeah.
Is the offensive line just a Stoutland University?
Well, they've got some good depth. Stout's going to make sure that he's got backups that can step in, and they're also missing. Don't forget they're also missing Goddard, who's a pretty good blocker too.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
What's up with the concussions, though? I mean, that 2 offensive linemen in 3 games now, or
Yeah, Lane
concussed?
had it.
Does that happen a lot, or are they
Is it
just
blocking
diagnosed?
technique? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, is it collisions downfield? Is it
know.
collisions at the line of scrimmage? I'd like to know more about that, honestly.
Lane's he's had a few in his
Yes,
career.
he has.
And
Yeah, yeah.
You're right. With the exception of him, I mean, there's been guys that have had concussions at offensive linemen, but you don't hear about it a lot, with the exception.
You
of
read that piece on Jerry Sizemore.
yeah.
I mean, Jerry said he got concussed every game almost.
Well, we're not
back in '81.
I don't know if we'll get into him today at all,
Yeah.
but Tua's going to play next week. That's another story unto itself with concussions. Hopefully
Right.
the Eagles will be okay. The city question we'll ask Mr. Spagnola after the break. It's interesting to me because I think it has a lot to do with the Eagles' fortunes this season. John Spagnola is our guest. Paul Domowitch, our co-host on the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff right here on WBCB from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Great food, great fun. Come on down and say hi to John. Back after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
United States Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick is your independent voice, proudly serving the Pennsylvania 1st District. Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick is focused on solutions and protecting your families. Brian Fitzpatrick is for all of us and is proud to serve all of us. The proceeding paid for by Fitzpatrick for all of us. A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We love being here every week. We love everybody coming out. Got a nice crowd tonight. Thank you so much. Come here every Monday, 6 to 7. Don't forget you can watch the show live at WBCSports.com. And YouTube Live by searching WBCB Sports. John Spagnola is our guest. Spags, you play tight end in this league. And Buddy Ryan once said the most important ability a player can have is durability or availability, depending on which you choose. Dallas Goedert is fast becoming, to me, Mike Trout. Somebody who's a wonderful player. You see how important he is in the offense in games in which he shows up, but he is always frickin' hurt and is not dependable. And I don't know where they go in the offseason, but it's becoming a real problem for me. Is it becoming a problem for you?
No, it's never a problem. I mean, it's really hard to get after or get down on somebody based on their.
It's not their fault, but
their ability to play or not. I mean, it's just everybody's anatomy and physiology is different, and so it really, kind of affects. Some guys can play forever, right? Look at Brandon Graham, 200 games, and then some guys get dinged a lot, like Goddard has, and then it's just sort of the way it plays out. I thought Calcaterra's added a lot to that passing game.
But he can't block.
He can't
can
block,
block a little
but
bit.
they just ran for
He
200.
blocks like Spags block.
200. Hey. But honestly, I think he adds almost.
Yeah.
He seems a little quicker almost in the passing game. So I think it's more important you don't lose that passing game part of the tight end component than you do the running game. You can always, look at Kelsey. Kelsey hasn't cracked an egg in like 10 years blocking, but he's a hell of a receiver, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame. So that's more important, I think.
Calcaterra is an interesting guy. We were talking concussions earlier. I mean, he's a guy that quit football because of concussions at Oklahoma, and then went back and played at SMU and got drafted by the Eagles. And so far so good. I think he's had one concussion with the Eagles, but nothing serious. So.
All right, fill in this blank, Damo. We saw guys play last year like Jalix Hunt. He's back. He got his first sack. Guys are getting introduced. And the guy that came back that tore his ACL at the Meadowlands last December. Sidney Brown coming back to the Eagles at a position of not much depth in the safety role means what to this team?
It helps. I mean, because you don't know what's going to happen going forward with their two starting safeties.
He's got his twin
plus,
brother next week.
Plus, you can use Sidney in heavy nickel packages and stuff. So yeah, it helps them.
It helps him. And Spags, Sidney Brown's brother Chase plays for the Bengals, a running back. Brother playing against brothers. Did you have any brothers that played football? You ever in a game with any of them?
That's fun, yeah. My brother played for Harvard, and I played against him my sophomore year.
Wait, you played Harvard-Yale games against your brother?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a senior center, and I was a sophomore end. And we prevailed that day, which I remind him of every year.
The Ivy League's interesting because Harvard-Yale is kind of an afterthought after, Penn kind of rules the Ivy League. And you have these Harvard-Yale games at the end of the year, but whatever.
Is Penn a four-year? Is that an accredited school? I forget.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We will see, but a lot going on in the NFL, but we'll get to that in a minute with the Eagles. Next week against the Bengals, it was flexed out, obviously. Then the Sunday night game, which may be flexed out against the Jaguars. Supposedly the schedule's kind of easy going in. When's the next game that you think Damo will really provide a litmus test? Obviously, we want to win every week. Every team's good. A win's tough in the NFL. We know the cliche is la-di-da. When's the next game where you're going to get a personal litmus test for how good this team really is, the slow starts, everything else, the sacks?
Well, I think this week will be a good litmus test. Cincinnati isn't as bad as their record. Joe Burrow clearly is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yep. So, I mean, we're going to get a good read on that defense. I mean, they have, Burrow's got good, he's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to throw to, so those cornerbacks are going to get tested. And so I think we're going to find a lot out about them, about that pass rush in this game. Because the last 2 weeks, I mean, you look at Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones are the two most sacked quarterbacks in the league. Watson can't, well, now he's out for the year, but I mean, he just wasn't the same quarterback he was when they handed him that ridiculous contract. And Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones.
All right, John, a lot of people haven't heard of a lot of people that play for the Eagles. I'm sure many people in this room have never heard of Moro Ojomo, who played very well yesterday. People have heard of Milton Williams, who always plays well. How important are these guys, these salt and pepper guys, Jalex Hunt, Sidney Brown, Moro Ojomo, being introduced into the team, maybe rookies, maybe free agents, people get hurt, depth? How important is that, and how is it going to show in coming weeks?
You always have to roll through defensive linemen. I mean, you absolutely do. I mean, we did it back in the early 80s, maybe not as much as they do today. But,
the Cowboys kind of started out with Jimmy Johnson, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, Claude Humphrey, I remember, was a pass specialist for us. He's a Hall of Fame guy that came out to us from Atlanta and stuff like that. When you can get somebody to spell you and, instead of running 60, 70 snaps a game, you're down in the 40s or whatever else, you're just going to have a lot more energy. I mean, defensive players are always leaning against somebody and chasing the ball. I mean, offensive players expend a lot of energy, but defenses wear down because they have to run to the ball.
And
so that's a big difference.
That's a great lead-in because there's one guy that's both. He's defense, he's offense, he's new. He's a fullback. Haven't had a fullback since John Ritchie.
Yeah.
Ben Van Sumeren, number 57, lead blocker a few times yesterday.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets the ball sometime soon. Gimmick or what, Damo?
No, I think we're going to see more of it. They used it 5 times. They used 22 personnel with him in it.
Explain that again to everybody.
That's 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, and 1 wide receiver. He was in there blocking as a fullback on Saquon Barkley's 42-yard run, I think.
45 yards.
He was in there for Kenny Gainwell's 14-yard run, a couple of other short runs. So, I won't be long before they start tinkering with it, and we see things like them throwing a pass down by the goal line to him and things like that. But I think it's got a future. I mean, Kellen Moore has liked 2 running back personnel packages when he was with Dallas. Not a guy that was a linebacker, but I mean, clearly he can block. So I think you're going to see more of it.
John, the Eagles' offense is obviously very talented, but the defense has been the heart of the team the last couple of weeks. Is the offense ever going to – I mean, they have a talent level where if Jalen Hurts plays good football, you talk about the recognition, the pocket awareness. Obviously, A.J. with a touchdown yesterday on a perfect pass. Devontae really wasn't there yesterday, minus 2 yards receiving. Dallas got it when he's healthy, a very good offensive line. Do you expect that with Kellen Moore calling the plays and maybe a little salt and pepper from Nick, that this very talented offense can put up very good results in the near future?
I hope so. I think I would say the offense has a lot of good players. I don't know if I would call the offense talented yet, just based on what I've seen so far this year. I mean, I think what we saw a little bit of it sort of coming together. And okay, I'm a Philadelphia fan, so I'm gonna take something really good and find a negative in it. But the two go patterns that A.J. Brown caught in the last 2 weeks, I mean, last week I would rather see him run the ball and end the game. Okay, that was a hit or miss play that had not worked. Now you're going to give the ball back to the other team. Okay, yesterday's pass and reception, that was awfully great play.
Fourth and three.
But it's
Fourth and
a
three,
fourth
They don't
down.
make it.
It's a fourth down play. They don't make it.
But early in the game.
Early in the game, you're kind of like you're getting into why are you jeopardizing early on? Why are you sort of turning the tables against it? Now they both worked, so we're all jumping up and down. We're on the bandwagon, but there's consternation kind of in both of those plays. You've trusted A.J. Brown. I'm going to say if he's going up one-on-one on a go route, he's got as good as any chance of any player in the NFL. So, having said that, and great throws on both of them, perfect drop into the bucket, as Ray Didinger said today on the radio this morning. But I was saying, I'm not sure if that's a good offensive scheme to base yourself on. Kind of, a little bit too much swashbuckling for me.
That's kind of one of the things that I still don't like about Jalen. The one last week, they changed at the line of scrimmage. That wasn't a call.
Okay.
The two of them, decide that, and he has such great faith in them. I mean, it's his God. He's A.J. Brown's son's godfather. I mean, they have the confidence to do that, even if it's not the smartest thing in the world, like John said. And he doesn't want to. You saw a couple plays yesterday. His field vision sometimes. There was a play where Tom Brady even showed it. He's got Devontae Smith on a cross.
Yeah.
He's right in his vision.
Right.
And he ends up throwing it away rather than I don't know what he was thinking there because he couldn't have not seen him. And he did the same thing with Barkley at another
Wide open for a
touchdown.
touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, wide open. It would have been a touchdown.
And it seems like those are his reads too. Those are his preliminary. It's not like it's his fourth read. It's
Was
sort
he
of
doing
like
in 22? Was he reading, or was that just something out of Coincidence Valley, USA?
He doesn't like to check down. He doesn't like. I mean, throwing is underneath is not his comfort level. I mean, he'd prefer to air it out and throw these deep balls to A.J. Brown and Smith and let them go up and get it. But that's not. Last year we saw in that collapse at the end what defenses can do against that.
Yeah.
They can take that away. And if you don't have an option, if you can't beat them underneath, this year they've got Saquon, so that could make a difference. But he's got to get better at getting the ball out of there quickly, finding his checkdowns when he needs to. I mean, he's got 18 sacks already. That's not good.
You think it's more coverage, sacks, and awareness?
No, it's him.
I think he's very uncomfortable in the pocket after the 2-second mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
And look, the pocket's going to collapse. You have to make the tackles and guards and center are expecting you to be in a certain spot. You can't drift from that spot, and so I think he's not helping them.
Yeah.
And I think he's got it. And it gets back to what I was saying earlier: is if you're in a third and 4 to 6. That pocket, is not going to collapse, and you're going to get the ball out. If you're in a 3rd and 12, it's a whole different story, and that's really where I think he struggles.
When you played Spags, now what we talked about with Damo, third down really not being quite as important as before because you're working on a 4-down framework so much. You guys really didn't when you played. I mean, it happened, but not nearly as often as analytics says now. Do you see a difference in the play calling between when you played now on 3rd and 4 to 6, based on the fact you're probably going to go for it half the time on 4th down?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole game's flipped. It's a 2-to-1, run pass ratio. Now it's a 1-to-2 run pass ratio, and then the book said you never went for it.
Live to fight another day. That was.
And then somebody wrote another book, and now you always go for it. I mean, come on.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about Spags being probably the best defense coordinator in the NFL now. But he doesn't play the NFL anymore. He doesn't coach in the NFL, but he does. What am I talking about? Some of you know, some of you may not. We'll talk about that when we come back. Take a look around the NFL. on the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken, where Corinne is doing a great job tonight. Back right after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And we are glad to be back at the Great American
Since
Pub in
1991,
Conshohocken.
the Great American Pub in Conshohocken.
I don't know what that was, but Damo and Spags here. Spags,
Who's the engineer here tonight?
I
What
don't
the heck's
know.
going on around here?
we're all about when the iceberg comes up, when you're not sure what's going on, you got to handle it like a pro. And we just stopped right there for a second, but
There
we'll
we are.
continue.
Just yell and blame it on somebody else and keep going.
There we
Yes.
are. Chiefs are 6-0 Spags. Steve Spagnola, who I'm sure you know in some way, coached here with Andy. I'm not sure he's not the key to that team right now. Obviously, they got best quarterback in the league, arguably the best coach in the league, but he is doing one hell of a job. 6-0, and he kind of gets lost in the shuffle of Pat Mahomes sometimes. So, what kind of job is he doing? But more importantly, what's the personal connection between Spagnola and Spagnolo?
Well, that's good. I mean, actually, that is the way my name should be spelled. It was changed.
At Ellis
but
Island?
but it's Nuolo is how it ends. So I approached him, with that one day, and he said, "I don't think so." I said, "We got to be related to that." I don't think so. But I admire him. He's done an outstanding job. He's one of these guys who reminds me of Bill Cowher when Bill Cowher was the defensive coordinator and coached at Pittsburgh. He's going to dial stuff up during the game. I mean, it's just sort of here's what he's doing, what's the offense doing, what's their keys, what's their tendencies, what's their blocking scheme, how do we attack that? And he's not I know Cowher, when I was playing with the Packers my last year, he was literally drawing them up in the dirt, to sort of attack our blocking schemes, especially in our nickel package. Spagnola's done a great job. I mean, look, that's a tired team. That team has been to, 3 Super Bowls, or they've won 2 in a row. They are playing, that means your season's extended another 6-7 weeks.
And they're banged up like crazy.
Banged up. You don't heal as quickly in the offseason. Mahomes is insane. I mean, he reminded me, and I'm going way back. Montana made a scramble like that once in a playoff game where he acted like he was going out of bounds.
So with the 33-yarder yesterday?
Yesterday whoever number 53 was for the 49ers, you have a chance to tear a quarterback's head off. He's a runner now. He's not a quarterback.
Let him go.
So you can treat him really like a running back and blow him up, and you don't lay a hand on him on the sidelines because he acts like he's going out of bounds. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Yep.
But I almost feel like he has a spell on the rest of the league to some extent.
John just said something interesting about Cowher, who was coordinator with the Chiefs under Marty Schottenheimer, about drawing things up in the sand. Every defense coordinator in the NFL has blitz packages. Spagnuolo seems to be able in-game to diagnose what other teams are doing and get there. I'm not talking game planning. I'm talking in-game better than anybody, and not just blitz packages but coverages. How important is that in the NFL today? Not because Andy's been known to be great at game planning, but sometimes the quick twitch isn't there. Spagnuolo, to me, is the king of the quick twitch defense.
Yeah, I mean, Spagnola learned defensive coaching from one of the greats.
Jim Johnson.
Yeah, he was on Jim Johnson's staff. Much is made about Andy's coaching tree. I mean, Jim Johnson's the guy that spawned him, Spagnola, John Harbaugh, guys like that, some great defensive coaches that, that have I mean, Steve seems content to be an assistant. He had his one shot or two shots, I guess, at head
Giants,
coaching.
yep.
The Giants and also the Rams.
Yep.
He was the Rams coach when they had Sam Bradford. But yeah, I mean, he's great. I mean, it's what's saving them. Although, putting up 28 points, they somehow find that offense that Andy puts together and schemes. They rushed for nearly 200 yards yesterday with Kareem Hunt.
You look at Mahomes' numbers yesterday; they were nothing.
Yeah.
But he just finds a way.
Yeah.
Every time there's a big play, somehow, some way, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, Travis Kelce right now is yesterday 4 catches for 17 yards, and they still put up 28 points.
Their wide receivers are all banged up.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Pat Mahomes with the people in this restaurant right now. Was there anybody magical? Randall, was he like that at all, John?
He could make incredible plays out of nothing. I think the difference is Mahomes is every bit the athlete. Maybe he doesn't improvise quite as much. I guess you could argue both ways because he throws no look passes. I've never seen anybody do that before.
Yeah.
But he knows that offense cold. He knows where everybody is all the time.
Yeah, Randall did not know the offense cold.
I mean, there were times when I would make it come out of a cut and I would be the primary and I'd look and I'd go, where is he? Because he wasn't in the pocket. He was over there. And I'd run where he was and he was somewhere else.
Did that get you angry if you were the primary and you were wide open, you didn't get the ball? Did you ever say anything when you went back to the huddle?
No. I mean, but it was a tad disappointing to know that the blocking held up and the play was there, and it was just a matter of executing it.
People ask sometimes whether I think Randall should be in the Hall of Fame. Randall could have been in the Hall of Fame Randall never wanted to learn how to be a great quarterback. He thought he could just wing it with what he did. And unfortunately, he didn't have people around him. I mean, he had Buddy around him who did just, go. He would just tell him to go out there and make 5-6
I just
plays.
call transmission.
Buddy ruined him, I think.
Yeah.
Not ruined him, but
yeah.
he emphasized learning and being a student.
Yeah.
It was go drop back and make something happen.
It's transmission, I call it, taking your talent and then making it work and then winning with it. And there's a guy doing that now, guys, in Detroit. I know we're 6-7 games into the season, depending on whether you've had your bye or not. The last undefeated team in the NFC fell yesterday to a guy who was not labeled necessarily a bust, but kind of a kind of guy. Now he's traded to Detroit. And circumstance, Ben Johnson, their coordinator, Dan Campbell. To me, I asked Domo this before the show, John. If you voted right now, he's the MVP of the NFL, Jared Goff. What do you think about them and him?
I think his career got resurrected. I mean, I thought he was sort of a drop-back quarterback, afraid of getting hit. I always struggle with the quarterbacks who throw the layoffs because they don't want to get picked off. But there comes a time before the half or at the end of the game where you got to force the ball downfield. And if it's 3rd and 18, I mean, Kirk Cousins got hit with that a couple years ago. Remember a playoff game? It was like 4th and 18, and he threw a 4-yard pass or an 8-yard pass, well, it was short of the sticks.
Alabama did it the other day on 4th and 22.
That's what Goff does, But now he's playing. He's playing in a really good team and a really good system.
Yeah.
Maybe his world got shaken up a little bit, and he reevaluated what he was doing, how he was doing it. And I'm happy for his success. That was a trade that really worked out for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy was considered, the Eagles supposedly, even though they picked Wentz second opposed to Goff going first, they were considered the winners of that draft, and for a while they were. Like you said, the trade the trade was to get Stafford, not to Detroit to get Goff. I mean, that was it was all the other stuff that Detroit got.
Yeah, the +1 was on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, but now, and Stafford helped them win a Super Bowl, but. Now we're in a different world, and Goff is really playing really well. And right now, like you said, MVP, probably a leader in the clubhouse.
All right, a lot of things to talk about around the league, guys. We had 2 big trades last week. Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper. Obviously, Deshaun Watson got hurt yesterday. But The Jets, John Spagnola. To me, the Jets right now are definitely a top 5 football team in the state of New Jersey, maybe behind Cherry Hill East and Rutgers. Have you ever seen, this is becoming a dumpster fire very fast, and the fire, sometimes the fire marshal can't see where the fire starts. It's starting at the quarterback position. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about this whole Jets thing?
I don't know. They let their coach go. Salai was a good guy. I mean, it just seems like it's sort of cratering from within. Rodgers isn't the quarterback he was, although he still seems to throw some pretty good balls here and there along the way. I think he had one. Was it dropped yesterday that kind of turned the game around?
Yep.
Or
The one that bounced off his receiver.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I heard about it, and but I watch him in the pocket. You know, he's just not as spry as he used to be. He doesn't move around as much as he used to. He goes down a lot easier, and you can't put it all on him. You know, it's the rest of the team as well. But the team just looks like it's
out of sync.
Yeah, it's like the land of or the island of misfit toys.
I just got an alert on my phone. Aaron Rodgers has decided to fire the owner, Woody Johnson, and replace him with Jeff Bezos. Does he have a little too much power there, Damo?
Well, he doesn't, or they wouldn't have made the change with offensive coordinators. I don't know exactly how much power he has right now. I mean, you would, I mean, Woody Johnson's just a, there have been some bad owners.
Buffoon?
Yeah, but clearly, I mean, they fired the coach strictly because it happened right after the London game. And he was there with his buddies, and he was embarrassed to, over there to have his team not play well. So he immediately finds somebody to blame it on. It's a mess. It is a dumpster fire.
All right, then you have Amari Cooper going to the Browns. That's not going to matter with Deshaun Watson hurt, or leaving the Browns going to the Bills, rather, which is going to matter with Josh Allen. To me, that energizes that team. The Bills are kind of cratered, as Damo said, after 3 games, come back to reality. I'm not a big Josh Allen guy. He's having a great year. To me, he's got to do it in big games. But Buffalo, as the world turns in the NFL week to week, Buffalo, Damo's getting some gumbo in my world. They're looking pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I've always believed that Sean would get them back on track. Josh Allen's too good of a quarterback, and now you're giving him another terrific weapon. They're going to be right there in the playoffs at the end. Whether they can beat Baltimore, I don't know, or whether they can beat Kansas City. I mean, it's going to come down to those 3 teams again in that conference.
All right,
I think the nice thing they have too, and it's similar to what the Pats had for a long time. There's no competition in the East. So you're going to win your division. You're going to have a home game. Yeah. You might have a bye. You have kind of patsies within your own division. That helps you then really plan for the postseason or so. Yeah. Josh Allen, I like an awfully lot. I mean, he's a leader. He's a hard player, but he's got the Brett Favre gene, and that's the bad turnover at the bad time of the big game. And even Rodgers, I think, has had that. When he was at Green Bay the last 5 or 6 years of his tenure there, a lot of these quarterbacks, that's the fatal flaw that they have. And I think Allen has to get over. And it's a bad throw. Dak Prescott suffers from this, right? It's a bad throw at a bad time. It's a pick in the end zone. Yeah. It should never happen.
You're judged on
and you
big
go,
moments
what the heck
league.
was that? What were you doing?
Yeah.
It's not about what you do in week 8. It's what you do in January.
Oh yeah, that's what people remember. Yep.
Well, that's why it's it's the last 2 weeks with Jalen has been promising because he seems to have learned from his earlier mistakes when he had 2 red zone interceptions and a red zone fumble.
Hopefully Saquon is still the main course, but somebody who's not the main course, kind of interesting around the NFL. We saw the Hassan Reddick going back to the Jets. They waived his fines. But there's a guy, this really isn't a huge Richter scale thing, but it's very interesting to me. A guy who played at LSU, was a 2-time All-Pro for a Super Bowl championship team. He was All-Pro, came to the Eagles this year. Obviously something went wrong, got released, and not a huff, not a whimper. Hadn't signed with anybody in a couple weeks. Dama, what the hell's going on with Devin White?
People told me during training camp that, this wasn't that what happened was going to happen, that he wasn't the player he was when he went to Pro Bowl a few years back. And they were right. I mean, I thought he would, I thought Vic Fangio would kind of light a fire under him and that we'd see a better linebacker, but that didn't happen.
John, you ever see anybody like that just kind of
I have no particular insight into Devin White. I'm sorry.
All right. It's interesting. I mean, Devin White, other players. One guy that wasn't really Devin White, he was here last year, didn't impress a lot of people. Marcus Mariota yesterday went in for Jaden Daniels after he got hurt in Washington. And, I mean, he blitzed a team that probably couldn't beat my high school team. But what did you think of Mariota yesterday and the whole Washington thing with Daniels, Tomo?
18 for 23. I mean,
Yep.
you got to like it. I mean, but, I don't want to say it, but, keep reminding people who the quarterback coach is over there. It's the guy they fired here as the offensive coordinator.
But Hollis Thomas, John Spagnola, last week was our guest, and he said Brian Johnson's the quarterback coach, but he's not calling the plays. How big a deal is that? The quarterback coach working with the quarterback, obviously, Cliff Kingsbury's calling the plays. How much do you give credit to a quarterback coach without being there? And what's your gut on that one?
Quarterback coaches are really important people. I mean, like you said earlier, Cunningham had Scoville. Mm-hmm. I played with Jaworski, basically had Vermeil. Vermeil called the plays. But the quarterback coach does not have to call the plays. But the quarterback coach, really kind of works as a sort of a professor to help you learn the playbook. The quarterback coach is a psychiatrist to help you get through difficult parts, of whatever game you're in. And is also, a coach and a mentor and all kinds of things. Best friend, worst friend, agitator. They play a lot of important roles. So it's there's a connection there, and if you have a good one, it can make a huge difference on a team. I'm happy for Mariotti. I mean, I'd sort of written him off as as a player and almost as a person too when he kind of quit on his team in Atlanta. Was it Atlanta where he was? Where he quit on his team.
Yep.
And that was like sort of just like left, and you have to wonder about that. But
he wasn't crazy about being here. It's just that he didn't have any other options.
Right.
All right, lots of stuff to talk about around the NFL. We got 2 Monday night games tonight. The second may be the least appealing game in the history of the NFL. Why there's 2 Monday night games, I have no idea, but a very good one. Tampa hosting the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to take a look at that, look around the NFL, and look forward with the Eagles. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Come on, say hi to John, and we're back for the final segment in a sec.
91. The Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
Hi, Merrill Reese, voice of the Eagles, inviting you to join me and a different Eagles guest every week for Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Listen to the show on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM from a different Chickies and Pete's location near you. Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM.
Serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer counties since 1957, WBCB can help your business grow. If you want to gain more exposure locally, contact us at 215-949-3232. That's 215-949-3232. Or contact Matt at WBCB1490.com. That's Matt at WBCB1490.com. WBCB Radio. Here today, here yesterday, and here tomorrow. Now on 107.3 FM as well as 1490 AM.
we now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All right, back here at the Great American Pub. I can't resist this, guys.
Uh-oh.
This is a football show, but I can't resist. This is audience participation. Guys, how many people are happy that the Mets are starting their golf season today? Yes. Not a good day for New York sports yesterday, Mr. Spagnola.
No, not at all.
Although the Liberty won the WNBA championship.
On a controversial foul call I saw.
I didn't think it was that controversial.
I thought it was a bump, didn't you?
Yep, I
Yeah.
did too.
Yeah.
You see it, Domo?
I did not.
Sabrina Ionescu, by the way, shot John Starks like 1 for 19, and their team won the game. So it's interesting, John, because we're obviously not a women's basketball show, but Game 7s, big games, NFL playoffs are one game. So often winner-take-all games are poorly played. Obviously, people get nervous. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely.
In anything?
Yeah, some people tighten up in the moment. Some people loosen up in the moment. I mean, you see guys play really well and, struggle in the postseason. Judge is a guy that's maybe getting a little bit relaxed now
Had
at
a
the
couple
plate.
home
But
runs, yep.
yeah, but I mean, he was tight last year, and sometimes it comes around, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it's just the way you approach a game, and if you can relax and concentrate in the moment but remain relaxed, it's a hard thing to do.
Damo, you brought up a guy during the break that I frankly forgot about today and had got lost in the moment. Played pretty well yesterday. Didn't play well the first few weeks. Become a joke in Philadelphia. But is Bryce Huff starting to get whatever getting it is?
Well, I mean, he showed up yesterday. Had a sack. Made a couple plays. I mean, it's an improvement. I mean, so how much of it had to do with the people he was matched up against, and we'll get a better idea this week. I mean, hopefully he can build on it if you're the Eagles, because they need him. I mean, they need some outside rush, and they got it yesterday. I mean, 8 sacks. Nolan Smith looked good. Brandon
Got it from all over. Nobody had
always.
more than 2.
Yeah. The guy that disappeared yesterday, or at least didn't play much, was Jordan Davis. Played 12 snaps. First-round draft pick that plays 12 snaps. Now, Nick said today, well, that was because, that they were throwing the ball a lot, so we had a Jomo in there more than we had him in. When you draft Jordan Davis, you're thinking he's going to be a 3-down.
Wait, let me ask you this, Tom. I got a question.
And that's not
for you.
going to happen.
Yeah.
If I went to you after the game, to Nick Sirianni, right after the game, the second the final whistle blew, he's not the coordinator. Obviously, he does what he does or doesn't do during the game. And I said to Nick Sirianni, how many snaps did Jordan Davis just play in this game? Do you think he'd have any idea at all? Or do you think he's actually monitoring it with Vic? I don't think he has any idea.
Well, you mean before the game or
After the game.
I mean, after the
He
game,
must have
right
30
after, or after the?
Right after, before he looks at anything.
Yeah, I mean, he probably noticed that he wasn't out there very often.
Right, maybe that.
But again, Nick's an offensive coach, and this is not unique to him. I mean, offensive coaches kind of leave the defense to the guy that's running the show, and that's Vic's thing. He sits in on a meeting or two, I'm sure, but it's the defense is Vic's to call. You're not going to see Nick ever telling him what to do, when to call a blitz, that kind of thing.
A lot of times the coordinators are down in the field. They don't have the perspective. But when you're up in the booth like he is, I think he's got he knows who's going in and who isn't, and they're charting that, logging it, and that's a bit of a surprise. But maybe it's also a message to Jordan Davis.
Was Smart Fox up in the booth or down in the field?
He's down in the field.
Okay, and your office coordinator?
It varied most of the time on the field. Yeah, okay. I mean, and I would marvel how like an offensive line coach would see as many like a Ken Hyman or Jerry Wampler, those guys. Yeah. The things they saw, when you have this very limited view of the line of scrimmage and the players and stuff was remarkable to me.
That's why the most popular phrase in football history is, I got to wait till I see the film.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're standing down there, you can't see crap.
Something you don't have to wait for, something I've noticed, and I'm sure you two and everybody here noticed, is a leading rusher in the NFL, the most perfect free agent signing I've seen in a while. Derrick Henry leads the resurgent Ravens into Tampa tonight against a Buccaneer team that's going wild offensively. Clearly, Baltimore's a better team. They're favored by 4. I like Tampa in this game. I think it's a great spot for them. But it's a very entertaining game, John Spagnola, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Well, I mean, they have an explosive offense of Tampa Bay. They've been lighting it up. Baker Mayfield's playing at a very high level. We saw what they can do, against the Philadelphia Eagles not too long ago. And then you have the Ravens, and to me, it's the same conundrum you've had, with Lamar Jackson, and that is they play a certain style of football, and Derrick Henry is part of that. And the question is, now you get into the playoffs and you're down 14 early in the game. Can you play that same offense that got you all the way into the playoffs?
We saw that with the Eagles and Saquon against Tampa.
Right.
Yep.
And I just don't know. I mean, I think it's a great pickup because now they can probably run the offense that we think the Eagles could run at even a higher level with those two talents. Yeah. But the question is that going to carry over through the playoffs? Not to the playoffs, but through the playoffs.
Yeah.
Tom, what's your thought on tonight's game?
I think Tampa Bay comes down to earth today. I just don't think their defense is going to be able to slow down Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson as a runner, and that's going to just kind of ignite their whole offense.
All right, guys. I mean, there's certain things in this world that are easy to figure out, certain things that aren't. Obviously, the NFL and their TV contract with 98 networks and streaming this and streaming that. I remember the first week of the year, there's always 2 Monday night games, one on the West Coast, but never in Week 8. What the bleep is this San Diego and Arizona game starting an hour after the first game? Dama, what's going on with this? Why?
I don't know, and I'd like an answer, but I don't know that there is one. And what's weird about it is they'll put one game on ESPN and one on ABC. Now, they used to kind of spread them out. There'd be a late game, so you'd basically see most of the first one before you now they overlap, and they overlap on properties owned by the same people. Disney owns both the ESPN and ABC, so I don't understand what's to be gained out of it if you're Disney.
All right, final question. We only got about a minute.
Quickly, though, what I don't get is I don't get the and they used to have an antitrust exemption, right? The NFL,
right.
and they still have it, but they had to provide the games to the fans. Now, I guess if a game's streamed on Peacock or Amazon or whatever else, and you're from, say, Pittsburgh, you still are going to get it on over the web.
Every
airwaves,
NFL
right?
game must be on free TV in
For
the local market.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But
See, I forgot that. I wasn't sure. of that,
actually,
so
I don't
that's
know that
helpful.
they have an antitrust exemption
anymore. They may have lost it
because
No,
they lost that suit back in the '80s to the USFL. That was an antitrust suit.
I thought it had to do with programming and
they still have it in
stuff.
some ways, Tom. I don't know. You guys watch the Manning cast or not? Quick question.
No.
All right.
Next question.
Football. Next question, Your Honor. John Spagnola, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Always good to be with you and talk football. I always enjoy it.
Love you having you
Paul,
here.
thank
John
you very much.
The family and everything like that. Thanks to John Spagnola. Our guest next week is undecided as of yet. We'll have somebody on Monday night, 6 to 7 after a Bengal game, Mr. Domowitch. Hopefully the Eagles are 4-2 on a little bit of a roll in the East. We will see. Great having you here again, as always.
My pleasure, Jolly. Always great being next to you here.
Yale Penn on a Friday night. You're going to go see that game?
No.
Okay, me either.
I have, but not this Friday night. Something called the World Series starts Friday night. Ooh. Anyway, Chris Sermer produced this fine program. Gus Barber back at the station. Thank you to Gus. Thank you to everybody for showing up at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken, where we love being every Monday night 6 to 7. This has been the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Until next week, for Paul Domowitch and John Spagnola, I'm Paul Jolovitz. Have a great week. Go Eagles, everybody.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297CL Levittown.
The crown jewel of Lower Bucks, 1490 WBCB.